Queremos empezar con todo. La vamos a comenzar con la presencia de un gran editor, un editor, no pocos han ganado el Yellow Kill. Este señor es muy importante editor en Europa y además representa a grandes artistas alrededor del mundo, como Herman, no sé si lo tienen, aquel que ha hecho Jeremías, las Torres del Bosque Maurí, África. Bueno, ahí le han dispuesto algunos de los catálogos que él hace. Ahí pueden observar la cantidad de obras y artistas que él representa. Joe Cooper, Carlos Trillo, Eduardo Risso, bueno, infinidad de artistas. Pero esta persona ha tenido una vida muy especial. Esta persona logró superar la guerra de los Balcanes. En esa guerra, él perdió no solo su casa, sino una obra increíble de que él coleccionaba de originales. 140.000 originales perdidas en la guerra. Logró salir adelante nuevamente y con gran respeto por todos los artistas, porque a pesar de que había perdido parte de la obra de esos artistas, él surgió nuevamente y todo el mundo lo siguió acompañando. Quiere decir que cambia muy bien el dicho de que dicen que el editor bueno es el editor muerto. En este caso, este es un muy buen editor. Así que los voy a dejar con él, que charlen con Andrés, y va a hacer la traducción David, para que puedan escuchar la experiencia que tiene él para poder transmitirle a todos ustedes y a aquellos que quieran presentar carpetas para que él las vea. Bueno, los dejo en buenas manos.
Bueno, buenas tardes, somos muchos. Hay un poquito de lugar acá adelante, hay algunas sillas, según acá al fondo la quieren ver representado, se pueden acercar, hay mesas donde quedan sillas libres, en todos los niveles. Bueno, como les contaba recién Eduardo, estamos con Ervin Rustemagic, que es un muy conocido editor y agente de autores, ¿sí? Ahora vamos a preguntarle de qué se trata su trabajo, cómo se hace, etc. Y lo más importante de la presentación es lo que les contó recién Eduardo, para que lo ubiquen. Ervin trabaja en Eslovenia, ¿sí? Uno de los países que alguna vez fue Yugoslavia, ¿verdad? Y que después de la disolución de ese país se fueron creando como países más chicos, como Bosnia, Herzegovina, Serbia y Montenegro, después se dividieron en Serbia por un lado, Montenegro por el otro, Croacia. Bueno, entonces en algún momento fue un solo país, de ahí viene nuestro invitado, y me gustaría empezar preguntándole cómo se decidió a ser editor, digamos, si alguna vez quiso ser guionista o dibujante, y por X motivo no lo hizo.
Well, when I was 18, earlier than that, when I was 16, I loved comics. I was reading a lot of comics, also a lot of Argentinian artists were published in ex-Yugoslavia. And they were doing those small, like Alberto Breccia, Castillo, and many of Argentinian artists and Spanish artists, Italian artists, they were published in small booklets in ex-Yugoslavia, and like a kid I just loved it, and I tried to draw myself. Everybody was telling me that I'm a good artist, but I realized after seeing the work of, for instance, Joe Kubert, I was visiting him at his studio, and he was doing 6 pages a day in pencil and ink, and it was taking me 4 or 5 days to do a page, so I realized I'm not really good. And I didn't like my work, so since I was somehow networking and meeting a lot of artists and becoming friendly with them, I decided to become an editor instead of an artist.
Editar obras de los autores a los que él representa. ¿Cómo engancha una cosa con la otra? ¿No? Tendría que ser la pregunta. Y si busca distintas cosas de lo que es para editar él o para representar.
Yeah, I first want to explain why I'm doing the agent work. When I was 18, I started a magazine, a comics magazine called Parte in 1971 in ex-Yugoslavia. The magazine was very successful, and it's kind of, you know, cult magazine. They call it cult magazine now. And I was working with agents and agencies, and I was very young. I was 18, but I realized that all these agents and agencies do poor work. Well, I was too young and experienced, but I see that they were doing poor work for the artists because their primary target was to bring the money to the agency, and they didn't care about the artists. I'll just give you one example. They come to me and they offer me a comic that I want. And I tell them, okay, I want to buy this comic for my magazine, what is the price? So they give me a price which I consider big, and I tell them, well listen, we sell 25,000 copies of the magazine, we cannot afford to pay $200 per page. Then they tell me, well, if you buy 3 more comics, then we can give you these 3 titles, which I don't like. They say, we can give you the rights for $15 a page. Then I realize they are destroying the artist whom I want. They are using his price because they want to sell the other artists I don't want. So this is just one example, but there were hundreds of examples where I realized that really those agents and agencies are just, you know, that's just administrators, just administration people who try to get as much money as possible, not thinking about quality or anything else.
O autores nuevos cuyas obras vos puedas ofrecerle a las editoriales de distintos países con los que ya estás trabajando.
You know, when I made trips, first of all, I was attending a lot of festivals since I was 18. I was going to Lucca in Italy in 1971 was my first Lucca, then I was in San Diego in 1976 regularly. I was one of the organizers of Angoulême in France from Angoulême 1, etc., etc. Whenever I go to the festivals, I'm not looking for anything, you know. I just want to see what people do. And then all of a sudden there is something that I think can be a big potential. Then I want to talk to the artist. Because if you go and look for something particular, what most of the editors or agents do, you will never find it. You might think that's the right thing, you know, but there are a lot of, you have to realize that there are more artists now, 10,000 times more artists now than they were when I started in 1971. So there is such an overproduction of work that you cannot find anything that is going to become a fast success. Because past successes were a long time ago when the comics printed on paper were selling in hundreds of thousands of copies. You know, when they were selling 400,000 copies, the magazines, etc., etc. Then we had successes. Now it's very difficult to have something on printed on paper that becomes a big success. But you find, I'll give you an example just to illustrate this after you translate this, what I said. I'll give you an example about an artist, Argentinian artist who I'm working with now, that I'm very happy with, and I find him to be a very, very big potential. It's Mauro Strafini, or Bruno, and his School for Monsters. I'll tell you later on, after Andrés translates this. Well, when I saw School for Monsters, I was very much enthusiastic, but I realized that we will not be able to sell. It's really great work. He's very intelligent. Bruno is very, very intelligent. I saw him yesterday in Buenos Aires, by the way, because tomorrow he's flying to Spain. And I see much more potential in this than in many cartoony comics which were produced and very successful years ago. However, I realized that we cannot sell many copies in any of the languages before we get it on the screen. Because nowadays, for instance, if you go to a publisher like, a big publisher like Planeta de Agostini in Spain, I'm very friendly with all of them there, they will not buy a children's book or a children's comic from you if it's not on television or in the movies. They want the success of Ben 10 or some of these characters, you know, and if you bring them an excellent comic, they will not publish it because it's not supported by the other media. English. And then I brought it to Hollywood because I've got very good connections in Hollywood. And I got everybody in Hollywood excited about it. Disney wants it. Disney wanted it, not wants it. Disney wanted it, but at the same time, my friend Ben Hager, who produced the Smurfs movie, Common City Smurfs, Lapitofos, yeah. They produced Smurfs movie, which was a big success. Ben Hager told me, no, I want to do this movie. And I prefer Ben on Disney because Ben is working for Columbia, and if we do it with Columbia, we can keep the merchandising. If we sell it to Disney, Disney keeps merchandising, we can't do anything about it. So I agreed. So I agreed with Ben Hager to do that we will start the development of the movie, but he told me there is a little danger. There was a similar movie, similar subject, called Hotel Transylvania, animated movie, which was in development with Fox. He said, it seems that this movie is dead in the water, nothing will happen, because for 5 years they were talking about it. So we'll just wait 1 year, and if we are sure that Hotel Transylvania will not be made, then we will do School for Monsters for sure. And he's the man of his word. Unfortunately, about 4 or 5 months ago, Ben called me and said, I'm sorry to tell you, but they are producing Hotel Transylvania. And because of the process of the movie, of development and production is very long, a couple of years, then we would come probably 2 years after Hotel Transylvania, and there is no studio in Hollywood who wants to compete with a similar project at the other studio. So Hotel Transylvania will probably come out before the end of this year. Who is giving up? I never gave up on anything, you know. So I told Bruno yesterday that we will now try to set it up as a television series because we have no chance to come out with a movie in the next 10 years from now, you know, because there are 2 things in Hollywood. For instance, if Hotel Transylvania is a big success, then nobody wants anything similar to compete with that success. They will have the merchandising and the sequels and everything. On the other hand, if it's a big flop, then nobody wants to make a similar movie as the big flop was. Therefore, we are going to try the television series, and I believe we will succeed because